This week I picked up a pair of the Nike Dunk High in khaki green, and I really like them, but instead of doing a video talking about the Dunk High in khaki green, I thought it would be more interesting to compare this shoe against its most direct competitor, I think, the Air Jordan 1 Mid. Let's get into it. Now, some people might think that this isn't the best comparison to make and that I really should be comparing the Dunk High to the Jordan 1 High, but I think these two are better matched. They are very similar in price and accessibility. In Australia, a Jordan 1 Mid will set you back $160 and a Dunk High $160 as well. That is for their standard versions, which both of these are. In recent years, I think the Dunk has been the shoe to get, being very, very hard to cop. Almost all raffles result in an L for me. I've only won like 2 over the past couple of years, and there's been a bunch of different collaborations that have just made the Dunk more and more popular. That, I think, fed the insane popularity that the Jordan 1 Mid is now getting and has been getting over the past year or so, but availability seems to be a little bit better so far this year. The OG versions of each of these shoes were released in the same year, 1985, but they were targeted, I think, at different people. I would say the Jordan 1 was a premium version of a basketball silhouette, while the Dunk High was more of a budget-orientated version that was targeted to the college crowd. The main differences between each of these shoes are the design elements and the way that the leather has been paneled in the uppers. The most obvious tech difference between these two shoes is the fact that the Dunk High doesn't have an air unit encapsulated within the rubber cupsole. The Air Jordan 1 Mid does, but to be honest with you, I don't think either one of these shoes is more comfortable than the other. For me, they both feel the same on foot. The outsoles are pretty much identical. Well, they are identical. And the leather that's been used in the uppers, at least in the versions that are made these days, are pretty much the same feeling. They both have nylon tongues, and while there is slightly different patterns to the textile material used in the lining, I don't really think it's important. Well, not that it's not important, I just don't think it makes that much of a difference. But something like paneling has a huge impact on the way each of these shoes look. The first major difference between each of these shoes is the eye stays. The Dunk High has a single leather panel from the top of the eye stay all the way to the bottom on either side of the shoe. The Jordan 1 Mid, though, has a separate leather panel for the bottom 3 eyelets of the eye stay that has been taken care of by separate paneling down to the bottom of the shoe. Then the rest of the eye stay is taken care of by a further 2 panels. There is a midfoot panel, and then there is the top eyelets that are connected to the heel panel of the shoe. Those differences feed the bottom parts of the shoe. With the Dunk High, there is a single leather panel that wraps around from the bottom of the eye stays to the bottom of the shoe and around the forefoot, while the Jordan 1 Mid has a panel that sort of starts where the bottom eye stay panel is around the forefoot of the shoe. You can see from a top-down view that there is a slightly different shape to the Dunk compared to the Jordan 1 Mid. The Dunk feels a little bit more boxy, and you can see that even on their side profile. The Dunk High feels a little bit more beefy around the heel and creates more of a triangle sort of look to the shoe. The Jordan 1 Mid doesn't quite have that triangular feel and almost feels like it adapts a little bit more to the foot. Simple, well, I don't know if that makes sense, but hopefully it does. And hopefully you can see that when they're side by side. I think that they are very different when you look at them like that. On a side profile, this is where the shoes really show off their differences. The Dunk High has a much more simple approach to paneling compared to the Jordan 1 Mid. There is a single panel that goes from the heel up into the top part of the eye stay, and the swoosh that is done over the top of that top paneling kind of separates the stitched on part of that heel panel to the part that's separated. Compared to the 1 Mid, you've got a panel around the heel, then you've got a separate panel for the swoosh that doesn't really go over any heel panels. You've got an exposed part of the base layer of the shoe, and then you've got another heel panel over the top of the base layer of the shoe, which kind of connects to those two eyelets at the top of the eye stays. The Jordan 1 Mid obviously has the Air Jordan 1 branding on the heel as well, while the Dunk High doesn't have any additional branding outside of the swoosh. Because of all of the paneling in the 1 Mid, you've got a lot more stitching that really isn't present in the Dunk High. Around the back of the shoe, the differences keep rolling. The Dunk High has a swoosh that connects much higher up on the shoe, and there is also a little pull tab here, and although I don't know who's going to stick their finger through that pull tab, it's really maybe just to grab from the outside. There is no pull tab on the 1 Mid, but the difference between where the swoosh connects and the gap between the bottom layer of the shoe means that there is more exposed base layer and stitching in the Dunk High than there is in the Jordan 1 Mid. But I think it's the approach on paneling and then color blocking that really separates these shoes. You'll often hear some people say that the Dunk is an easier shoe to wear, and I think that's because of how simple and clean it looks. The Jordan 1 Mid is a killer shoe, don't get me wrong, I personally love it, and I've got more pairs than I can probably count, but the Dunk High just has a much more simple approach to color blocking and paneling that makes it a lot easier to style with a bunch of different outfits. There are a couple of other differences between the shoes, like the way the rubber wraps up into the outsole on the Dunk High compared to the 1 Mid. The 1 Mid has a straight line, while the Dunk High has a little bit more going on as far as the rubber going up and down and different shapes to it and whatnot. I don't think either one of these is better than the other, to be honest. I like them both. They are just more different than what you thought they might be. Anyway, if you've got a preference, let me know in the comments below. But until the next video, laters.